In House of the Dragon, teenagers strap onto animals 150 feet long and launch straight into the sky. No harness, no oxygen mask, no G-suit. Just scales, nerve, and plot armor. It looks like the ultimate power trip. Strip away the Targaryen magic and drop a real human body onto that dragon's back, and here's what actually happens. 4 separate failure points hit a rider in the first 10 seconds of flight, and they don't take turns. They stack on top of each other. We're pulling them apart one at a time so you can see exactly how each one works. Then you decide which one gets you first. You aren't watching a hero soar into battle. You're watching a biological catastrophe with a really good soundtrack. Untrained people black out somewhere between 4 and 6 Gs. That's the ceiling on how fast your heart fights gravity to keep blood in your brain. Fighter pilots push that number to 9 Gs, but only inside pressurized suits that squeeze the legs like a blood pressure cuff that never lets go, plus a breathing technique built to keep blood in the skull. A dragon rider gets none of that gear. Just 2 thighs and a fistful of mane. The US Air Force strapped a flight surgeon named John Stapp to a rocket sled in the 1950s to find these limits. He hit over 40 Gs, burst blood vessels turned his eyes solid red, and he kept volunteering. If a trained officer needed a rocket sled and a medical team on standby to survive a fraction of what Melee's pulls in one turn, a teenager on a saddle has no shot. In the show, Melee's, the fastest dragon in Westeros, pulls sharp, high-speed banks to dodge Vhagar. Picture a roller coaster drop that never ends, except your heart is trying to pump lead instead of blood, and there's no safety bar. In a turn that sharp, gravity yanks the blood in the rider's head straight down into their legs. That's G-lock, the brain's emergency shutoff switch when it runs out of oxygen. Vision goes gray first, then black. The rider wouldn't even register fear. They just wake up on the ground, assuming they woke up at all. Say the G-forces don't get you. Congratulations, you've traded one death for a slower one. Kaigons are fire made flesh. Take that literally. A creature that produces flame internally isn't running at normal body temperature. It's running hot, somewhere in the range of a car engine at highway speed. Human skin starts registering pain at 111 degrees Fahrenheit. At 140 degrees, you get third-degree burns in 5 seconds flat. You are not riding a dragon. You are a rotisserie chicken with a saddle and main character energy. Every scale under that rider's thighs and palms cooks flesh for the entire flight. Landings wouldn't end with victory laps. They'd end with a maester on standby doing skin grafts, flight after flight, until the rider's hands looked less like hands and more like old leather gloves. Ironically, that searing heat is the only thing standing between the rider and freezing solid the second they hit the clouds. Targaryens love flying high, and the atmosphere punishes that habit. Temperature drops roughly 3.5 degrees for every 1,000 feet gained. Climb to 20,000 feet and you're sitting in sub-zero air, wrapped in silk robes picked for looks, not survival. At the same altitude, the air turns too thin to sustain a working brain. Mountaineers call the stretch above 26,000 feet the death zone, the reason Everest summits require bottled oxygen even for climbers who trained for years. A dragon rider gets there in minutes, with 0 training and 0 oxygen tank. Hypoxia doesn't come with a warning label. It convinces you that letting go of the reins is a fine idea. The brain is the most oxygen-hungry organ in the body, and starved of it, judgment goes first. The rider wouldn't feel like they're suffocating. They'd feel a creeping stupidity, a fog that erases the ability to notice they're falling until the ground solves the problem for them. Survive the heat and the altitude, and the very first second of flight is already trying to snap the rider's neck. A dragon's wings don't ease into motion. They snap, launching a multi-ton animal forward hard enough to feel like a car crash instead of a takeoff. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has spent decades studying exactly this kind of sudden acceleration in crash tests, and the human neck has a hard limit before soft tissue tears. That's whiplash, Except a dragon rider isn't getting it once. They're getting it hundreds of times per flight, one per wingbeat. Formula One drivers wear a head and neck support device engineered specifically to stop this injury. A Westerosi teenager gets a saddle, a prayer, and a family name. Without a headrest, a harness, or anything resembling neck support, a dragon rider's spine takes damage from the moment the wings snap open. Do this for years, the way Aemond or Rhaenyra's sons are shown doing, and a dragon rider isn't a knight. They're a person with permanent nerve damage who happens to also be excellent at falconry with a much bigger bird. The myth of the dragon rider is a good one. A human being transcends their limits and commands something close to a god. The math doesn't care about the myth. Climb into that saddle for real, and the G-forces, the heat, the cold, and your own fragile spine finish the job long before the dragon needs to. So pick one. The G-force blackout, the freezing altitude, or the 140-degree scales. Which one ends your flight first? Drop your pick in the comments and subscribe if you want more of your favorite fictional worlds taken apart by real science. If dragon riding sounds brutal, wait until you see the same math applied to the 41st millennium. Check out our breakdown of whether a Warhammer Space Marine could survive in the real world, bone-crushing power armor and all.